Thanks for tuning in to our PGA Tour coverage on Proline TV as we take a look at the Houston Open with our golf handicapper, Brady Cannon. How's it going, Brady?
Hey, it's good, man. Good to be with you, Greg. We're all done with Florida. We make a quick 2-week trip into Texas, and then where we're headed
Oh,
after
yeah.
that, right down Magnolia Lane for the season's first major. We're getting awful close.
Yep. And, I kind of wish, I don't know why do you have an explanation of why you think the Houston Open is not the week before the Masters, since there's a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
more here at this golf course, Memorial Park?
Well, it's a great question, and it used to be the very week prior.
Even before they went to Memorial Park, though, right? That was years ago.
Yes, yes. In fact, I don't know. I can't remember if it was ever directly before the Masters when they went to Memorial Park, because there was it's been at least a few years now that I remember where it moved to the fall season, if you recall.
Yes.
I know Tony Finau won it in the fall of 22, I believe. I'm trying to remember. Steven Yeager won it last year. I think that may have been in the fall as well. And now it's gone back to the spring. I think this is the first year that it's moved back to March. And it was there. Like I say, I think it was 2019 or 2018 that Ian Poulter won. And I remember that one famously because he had to win that golf tournament to get into the Masters, and he did. And the very next week was Augusta. And then again, they went on this kind of 4 or 5 year hiatus where they moved it to the fall, and now we're back. And at the same time, we've also moved to a different golf course. Memorial Park is actually a public course. It's a tremendous golf course. One of the harder courses these guys play on tour, and like you said, a very good tune-up for not only the Masters but for major championships. Really, you've got these. We talked about the correlated courses before coming on the program today. Southern Hills, where they had the 2022 PGA and last year's U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Those shaved runoff areas. You've got those elevated greens, just like at Augusta. The greens are kind of above ground level there, and rather than rough surrounding the greens, you've got these shaved runoff areas where the ball will repel and kind of settle into a collection area, and you've got to make very difficult chip shots and that type of thing. That's what Memorial Park has. So that's a real good piece of why this is a good course to train, for Augusta major championships. It's also very long, which most major championship golf courses are. But even past Houston Open golf courses were also kind of tried to be structured to prepare the players for Augusta. This course held the Houston Open for I want to say a while, 15, 20 years, but it was a long, long time ago. And then it was off the map for quite a while. And then in 2019, Tom Doak came in and did a major renovation with Brooks Koepka, by the way, acting as a player consultant. And what they really put together was a test of major championship proportion to get guys ready for that upcoming major. And that's what we've got here. And you look at the guys that have won. I mean, Scotty Scheffler's been right there. Steven Yeager, there's and the scores, like over the course, there's been 4 recent renditions since the Doak renovation. The average winning score has been less than 13 under par, and the under or over winning score proposition bet this week is 11.5 under par. So that tells you, this is not a birdie fest. This is a very, very difficult golf course. So that's kind of the history of it. But yeah, as far as why it is not the immediate week before the Masters anymore, I don't know. Also interesting to note that Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy are going to play this week as their final prep for Augusta. And I think that goes hand in hand with this golf course being similar. But they are not going to play next week. Now, a lot of guys, this field obviously has the 2 major stars in the golf world. Next week actually has more stars. It doesn't have the 2 marquee guys,
Yeah.
but it's got a much deeper list of stars for guys that want to get in just one
Sure.
more round the week before. So guys are basically, this week and next week is all guys planning for when and where they want to get their final tune-up in.
Yeah, it has seemed like that because this is going to be the 5th year at Memorial Park,
Right.
and we've had some longer hitters win. You mentioned Jaeger, of course. You have Finau and Kokrak, but I mean, not only is it long, but it's also a par 70. So there you go. That's why the scores have been. Matter of fact, I think the average under par over 4 is 12.75 under par, I believe.
Yes.
And this is actually the 2nd event since the spring at this basically coming back for the spring here at Memorial Park. The previous 3 actually were in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually the previous 3. This is being the 5th overall at Memorial Park. And I think it was about a decade before, when it was in the spring, that it was just before the Masters. So it's been a long-standing event. Matter of fact, we always remember, I mean, this is one of those like smaller events, not that it was a small event, but just a smaller event that you always recognize it as the Shell Houston Open.
Yeah.
You always had that Shell logo.
Been a number
in the
of
water.
different sponsors over the years too.
Yeah. So it is what it is. I know Rory seems to enjoy playing the week before mostly, but I think because there are more similarities to Augusta, he probably just decided it makes more sense to make this one the last.
Never played here before. I think he's going to really like this track, because it typically rewards longer drivers of the golf ball.
Longer, straighter. Yeah.
We know that fits his bill. So
that's right. And other things, of course, that make this course type of player you want to be keeping an eye on overall. You definitely want someone that's really good around the greens, like you mentioned, because of the slopes, the elevated greens. They're also fast, so keep an eye on that. So long and straight, that's important, and maybe even a good combination, of course, of power and accuracy, which is not in everybody's game. So
no, not at all.
No.
And not everybody is a power hitter off the tee and also has the deft touch to be able to scramble and putt. And so
that's right.
And that's what Augusta asks of you. That's what most major championships ask of you. So it is a really good precursor to the Genuine article coming up in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so what we're going to do here for the first time, and hopefully this is going to be our setup format-wise moving forward. As you can see here, we've set it up. This is Fantasy National Golf Club. Jared Smola introduced me to this particular fantasy company a couple of years ago. Of course, Jared was my full-time partner. He'll be back in 2 weeks to help talk about the Masters, along with Hall of Fame golfer and Stevenson. So all 4 of us are just going to talk Masters in a couple of weeks. So anyway, we decided, let's take a look at exactly the reason why we use Fantasy National Golf Club. I'm going to have a link in the description. So if anybody wants to sign up and pay a membership every month subscription, I'll give you the link so you can do that. If you are into handicapping golf and you wager on golf every week, this is a must. You have to decide on a model format fantasy company like this. And we're definitely right up there, if not the best at what they do. So we're going to we've already put our model together. Actually, this is Brady's model already set up. Okay, we've set it up for 36 rounds. All right. And why don't you here is basically the setup right here. So why don't you just talk a little bit about, Brady, why you set it up with these particular stats?
Yeah. Though, every golf course is different. Many are very similar to one another, but week in and week out, you're going to have, you have to decide upon yourself or research or what have you. You have to come up with what skill sets are going to be most useful at a particular golf course. We were talking about Memorial Park. You have to be typically you have to be long off the tee. We've seen, bigger hitters win here. It is a long golf course. So driving distance, okay, that becomes important. You've got strokes gained approach, iron play. Strokes gained approach is probably a statistic you're going to use every single week. It's kind of like back in the old days, greens in regulation. Now, greens in regulation happen to be very important here as well. Then you've got scrambling. That's typically going to be a statistic that you'll use week in and week out. And then you can get more specific, like, hole proximity from 200 yards plus, or par four scoring, or bogey avoidance, which typically comes at harder golf courses like we have here this week. So you come up with all the skill sets that you believe are going to construct a champion, if you will. Like, what have winners done here in the past that, makes for a recipe of success? Have guys been great at putting on this particular course? Have guys been great at iron play on this particular course? Have they been extremely accurate off the tee? What skill sets have generated or translated into success at this golf course? And then you put those together. Let's say it's 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 of them, maybe 10 of them, whatever you want to do. And basically you hit submit, and Fantasy National there, has the current field for the week. And you can see there on the screen, Scotty Scheffler, no surprises, at the top of the model. And you go from there. And then you can, Greg, you can click on each individual statistic as well and see how they rank in that particular category. Currently, you have it in descending order on how they rank in the model. But if you click on, let's say par four scoring or strokes gained par fours, now you're going to see how they stack up in that particular category. So it's a great tool to know, and you mentioned that we look at this over the course of the last 36 rounds. You can set it up to look at over the last 4 rounds, the last 12 rounds, the last 50 rounds, whatever you want to do. And this will give you an idea of who is performing the best during that time period in this particular field. Different from going to like PGAtour.com and just looking at how guys rank in certain all these categories are on PGAtour.com as well. But the difference is you're looking at how a guy ranks as a part of the entire PGA Tour versus how a guy ranks in this individual field. And oftentimes that is obviously very, very different. You've got, 250 members or more of the PGA Tour, where you've only got anywhere from, 40 to 80 to 150 guys in an individual field.
Okay, let me see if I can, before we get moving along, I want to pop up. I'd like to pop up the picks. So let's go ahead and do that. So these are the official picks for this week. Brady, you've got your outrights here and your top 20 finishes here. Actually, I'm not sure if this might have been from last week. I think I had that in from last week. But anyway,
yeah, I'm not sure how many units it was. I didn't put that, but I think it's a little over a half a unit total on the outrights, and doing some quick math here, looks like about 1.75 units or so on the top 20 finish.
So that's what you're looking at for this week. And let's go ahead and get started. So let's take a look at the two at the top. Look, the odds are really low again with Scheffler and McIlroy, but here they are: Scheffler, McIlroy, 1-4, big surprise. So I guess I got to just quickly ask you, for anybody out there that is interested in either taking Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy, do you favor? I mean, are you favoring Scotty just because of the fact that he's been here at this location for all 4, and he's actually played pretty well here the last 3 years without winning?
Yeah, he's done very, very well. I think he was runner-up last year to Stephen Jaeger.
Twice, actually, in the last 3.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I might actually, in fact, I did look at a head-to-head matchup with Rory against Scotty, and I think Rory was like plus 125 and Scotty was minus 145. And I don't think many people would argue with you if you said Rory's currently in better form. I mean, he just
Oh,
won the
yeah.
Players Championship, and Scotty has been a little bit non-Scotty in the 3 or 4 times that we've seen him so far this year. Of course, dealt with that hand injury over the Christmas holiday. I think that's behind him, but we just haven't seen what we've become used to in the last couple of seasons. It's not like he's playing awful at all. He's been close. He's had top 10s, top 20s, that type of thing, but not winning on a regular basis like we saw in the past couple of seasons. I thought about possibly taking him here at 4-1 or whatever he is.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
there's some 5-1s out there. But just because of his current form, I said, no, I don't feel the timing is right. I think, like a lot of guys, Scotty can win anywhere at any time. It doesn't really matter. But so much about this, and we've talked about it before, is timing. When is a guy's time? When is he peaking at the right time? When is he going to go on and really contend and have the right week at the right golf course? And I don't know if that is the right time for Scotty Scheffler just yet. Maybe it will be in a couple of weeks when he defends at Augusta National. But I would say Rory is certainly the player that's in better form right now. But, you bring up another point. He's never played here before. How focused is he really on winning this week? And how focused is he really on just getting his game into that perfect shape for when he does arrive at Augusta in a couple of weeks? So, no, the odds were way too short on either of those guys, combined with reasons to doubt if they will actually go on to win this week. But what it's created is, because their prices are so short, I mean, the next closest guy on the odds board is like 30-1. So, I mean, the shortest guy I picked this week is 50-1.
Yeah, here over on DraftKings, it's currently 28-1.
Right.
With Wyndham Clark and a few others at 30-1. So yeah, that just and it goes all the way down the line as far as some of the advantages that you have if you want to go that route. Okay, so let's take a look at your picks, and again, we're just gonna take a look first of all through this overall model rank, and we'll take a look at some of your players here. So here's Alex Smalley. Here's one of your top players. He's your third choice. And Nicolai Højgaard, as far as top 10 only, is actually your 7th out of 7 picks. So Smalley, his odds have been ranging around 55 to 60. I think you got him at 60.
Right.
And I got him around the same thing. And for the first time in a while, look, I liked him so much this week that when I saw you took him, I said, screw it, I'm taking him too. So we usually don't do that. But I just think Smalley, this is the perfect setup for him. Isn't it? I mean, and he's got so much talent when you really think about it, that he's just so close to finally breaking through, that even though he's coming off a miscut, don't care. If anything, maybe that'll get him recharged, because when I looked at his previous miscuts, he's usually always followed that up with a solid performance. So it does not matter to him. He's not one of these streaky guys where if he has a miscut, oh, watch out, he may be off his game for 3 or 4 weeks. Doesn't matter. If anything, it recharges him and he gets going. So don't worry about him coming off a miscut, because he's having a really good calendar year. And yeah, I just think he's a really good play this week. And Nicolai Højgaard, of course, is somebody that we both like a lot and feel that it's only a matter of time before he breaks through.
Well, if you look at the model there, Smalley second in this field for strokes gained on the par fours the last 36 rounds. And then you go over and you see he is, and I'm sorry, I lost his name now. Oh, there he is. Okay, so he's third in this field for scrambling and 7th in bogey avoidance. So obviously ranks really high in 3 of our categories right there. He's got multiple top 25 finishes already this season. I think you could argue he's having the best season of his career so far. You mentioned the miscut, and I kind of like that, because he was playing a pretty heavy schedule. He'd been playing a lot of golf. I think this is the 12th tournament we've had. This is either the 12th or the 13th tournament so far this year. I can't recall exactly, but he had played about 9 or 10 weeks. He hadn't taken much time off. So the fact that he missed the cut the last time out, I like that that's given him a little bit of extra rest here to, like you say, recharge, reset, because everything's been fine. He's been playing brilliantly. He's also finished as high as fourth here at Houston in the past. So Alex Smalley just made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, his overall past performances here. And by the way, he's also coming off a miscut last year, which was his worst performance of the 3 appearances here. His previous 2, as you said, was a 4th and a 15th, combined 11 under par. So he knows the golf course well. He's played here well before. You're getting really good odds, and that's another reason why I think he's a really good play. Let's move down the board here and see who else we find with the next group. By the way, just so you know, I think your boy Mac might not be a bad long shot to keep an eye on this week. Rye looks awfully tough, possibly. Thompson and Pendrith, just so you know, are 2 players on my list. Davis Thompson.
Big hitters, they definitely check that box. You can see there in driving distance, Taylor Pendrith, 13th in this field for driving distance.
Yep, all the way down here at the end. And Thompson has played here twice. Matter of fact, both of them have kind of been better every time they've played here. Pendrith went from a missed cut 9 over par to 8 over par when he made the cut to 3 under par last year, while Thompson was 43rd and 21st in his first 2 appearances. So let's move on and check out the next group, the next 10.
There was one guy just up a little higher than that, Harris English, who I'm on, who of course we hit earlier this season at Torrey Pines. Very good on the par 4s, an excellent putter, and number 1 in this field. And if you remember that final round at Torrey Pines at the Farmers Insurance Open, he just scrambled his tail off, and no surprise that he is number 1 in this field for scrambling. And we talked about how important that is around this golf course. So for a few different reasons, I like Harris English. We've also seen, Torrey Pines is a big boy golf course, right? I mean, it's what, 70, gosh, I think it's like 7,700 yards or something like that. So, it's going to take driving distance and driving accuracy and all that good stuff as well. I don't really make it a correlated course because it is a different setup for sure. But what is similar to Memorial Park is the fact that it's really long. And a couple of my selections have done very well. A few of them. Nikolai Højgaard was runner-up at Torrey Pines in 2024. Harris English won there this year. Maverick McNeely, runner-up at the Genesis Invitational, which was played at Torrey Pines. And you look at Stephen Yeager and Tony Finau, former champions here at Memorial Park. They have both done very well at Torrey Pines. So there is some connection, even though I don't call it necessarily a correlated course because there are definitely differences. The similarity is the length and the test that you are facing. And a lot of guys have been able to pass the test at both of these courses. So, Harris English, like I say, made my card this week for a few different reasons.
Okay, so English, Højgaard, and Smalley so far. Moving on, Nick Taylor is another one of your picks, as is Keith Mitchell. So you'd see the 2 right here, and a lot of nice green here for Taylor. Mitchell does seem to be an interesting play as well. He was 9th here a couple of years ago. We know he's got the power game. And then Nick Taylor, as we've talked about before with Nick, I really feel he's getting close to putting one of those like 2 wins a year or 2 wins a season deals together to take him at that next level, to be a little bit more consistent. I know he's been more consistent this season than maybe ever before.
I would agree. He's really starting to blossom into a top player in the world. And he doesn't have the length off the tee. He is not a bomber. Keith Mitchell, like you say, is a bomber for sure. One of the longest hitters in this field. You see there on the graphic, he is 12th in this field for driving distance. He's a great ball striker. He's not the greatest putter in the world, so you got to hope that the short game shows up, but he has had success at this golf course before. So I took a stab with him. Taylor, like I say, not the longest player, but he's deadly accurate, and his ball striking is premier. And he doesn't make a lot of bogeys either. So I think he plays difficult golf courses well. So he made a lot of sense to me as well.
Okay. By the way, and this I almost went with Taylor Moore and Patrick
Yeah.
Rogers. Those are a couple of guys I was looking at. Yeah, Moore, of course, was second here last year. So he is somebody to keep an eye on. I did go with Minwoo Lee.
Long hitter. What's that?
Yes.
Number 7 in driving distance.
Yeah, he really checked a lot of boxes. Not only is he a long hitter, but he is also really good around the green. So he's the combo that you're really looking for. Now, he hasn't played here before, so that's the thing. But look, Minwoo is trying to win a PGA Tour event. He's never won a PGA Tour event. And I think, unlike some of the other players, like a Rory that's never played here, Rory's got one thing on his mind: how to prepare and get ready for the Masters more than anything.
Yep.
Minwoo, he'd like to win. Anybody that doesn't have a win wants a win. Trust me. So that's the reason why I didn't like his odds. His odds were a little low, but it is what it is. Okay. So let's move on. And by the way, I thought Matty Schmidt might also be a nice long shot play.
Yep.
There's your Maverick McNeely. He's your top overall pick.
Yeah, and I've seen him as high as 60-1, I believe. I got him at 50-1, and I've also seen him as low as 40-1.
Weren't you surprised about his odds being so high?
Well, it's the Scotty and Rory effect, right? I mean, we talked about that. They're sitting there at single digits, and everybody else is basically 30-1 or higher. And like I say, I've seen McNeely at 40. I've seen him at 50, and I've seen him. I believe I've seen him close to 60.
He should be in this group, honestly.
You would think. He's coming off of 2 missed cuts, though. And again, I kind of like that. He missed the cut at the Arnold Palmer, and he missed the cut at the Players. And again, I'm okay with that because I think it's given him a chance to step back. He had that near miss at the Genesis at Torrey Pines. And he's not a real short hitter. He drives it pretty darn far. You wouldn't necessarily think so because his real forte is the short game. He can putt lights out. I think he's 14th in this field for strokes gained putting on Bermuda grass the last 36 rounds. Tremendous short game, but he's also got the length, and he's got really good finishes here in the past. He's finished 20th, 19th, and 27th at this golf course before. He's also done well at some of my correlated courses, a 12th at the Zozo Championship, a 16th at the Scottish Open, and he's got a runner-up at Silverado. And of course, I mentioned the runner-up at Torrey Pines, which tells me he can handle a big boy golf course like this. So I like the fact that he has proven himself on a track of this style. And then to go along with that, you have his current form, been playing really, really well for the last, 5 or 6 months, including a victory in November, and has the short game on top of all that. So yeah, McNeely, I think it's the second or third time I've taken him this season. And in fact, it's the third time I've taken him this season. And we were very successful, of course, at the Genesis, and I'm hoping this one turns into a victory.
Yeah, here are the putting stats. So this is your putting model, and there's Maverick. So he's 4th overall.
14th for strokes gained putting.
Yep. So there he is. Okay. Now let's move on down the board here. And this is actually going to be my top pick, Sungjae. I know we haven't touched up on him too much this year, but I mean, he's played here a couple of times, 19th. That was his best showing a few years ago. What I like is he's been really good on a lot of these courses that a few that are on your correlated courses. And look, he's had some success at Augusta. And so that's something to keep an eye on. And he's also a good scrambler, good around the greens. So, and most importantly, I even checked my sports book today, just recently, he was at 45-1. And that's not usually where Sungjae Im is. Usually Sungjae is around 30-5. And I figured, wow, I think I only got him at 35 here, but his odds have gone up even better. So I'm kind of surprised that his odds have gone up that way. But I think that's why it made a lot of sense to try to see if I can go ahead and grab someone that hasn't won for a little bit. He's not exactly been on his game, but he has had his moments recently. So.
Yep, there's no. I mean, he's really he not only seems to play every single week, but he's a contender every week as well.
All right, and then here is your final pick, Dietrich. He's already won, of course, this year at Phoenix, and he is, I believe, your second choice.
Yeah, I got him at 50-1, and he's another guy I've seen higher. I've seen him in the neighborhood of 60. So shop around for sure. But he's another guy that has done very, very well at Torrey Pines. I know he's got enough length to handle the distance side of things. He's kind of very similar to Maverick McNeely, where he has a tremendous short game. I think he ranks even better in this field for strokes gained putting than does McNeely. He's really good on the par fours. And oh, by the way, he was runner up here last year. So yeah, I think, and now that he has that win under his belt, and we're also a few weeks removed. I mean, this guy has been grinding on both the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour for a long time, trying to finally kick that door down and get his first victory. And he got it in Phoenix earlier this year. So for me, I wouldn't have wanted to be on Thomas Dietrich the very next week or maybe for a few weeks, because that relief of getting that victory probably has taken him off his game for a minute. And sure enough, he did miss a couple of cuts in a row. He missed the cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He missed the cut at the Players Championship. And then he returned last week at the Valspar with a nice finish of 22nd place. So it's like, okay, now he's starting to turn back and become Thomas Dietrich again, who I have felt for the last couple of years is close. And obviously he turned that into a win at Phoenix. And I think this course makes a ton of sense for him, where once again, he finished runner up. I know he's been runner up at a number of different places and number of top 10 finishes in his career. But I think he's ready to build upon that win now, and he's probably over the celebration and the enormity of what that meant in his life.
I don't want to butcher his last name because we haven't used it much on the show.
Isatuni.
Works for me. Couple of years ago, there was a lot of talk about him as an up-and-comer. Didn't work out for him. And look, it's not saying that all of a sudden 1 week is just going to break out and all of a sudden be the player that everybody thought we were going to see a couple of years ago, but somebody to watch. That's for sure. So
yeah, and he's I've seen him take some action this week too. His odds have come down.
McGreevy's another one I like. Didn't pick him this week, but I did go ahead and go with Hughes and Thigala. Yep. Hughes has been really good here. All four of his appearances here have actually been in the top 30 with three top 20s and one top 10. Nothing over par. So a player also that I think, matter of fact, he was fourth at the Pro Tour last year, one of your correlated courses. And speaking of the Pro Tour, Thigala, of course, winning his PGA Tour event at the Pro Tour. And so when I was already considering him, and then once I saw that with your correlated courses, I jumped on him. I know he's not like trending or anything like that, but Thigala is one of those players. You never know when he's going to play well. He hasn't been consistent enough.
Right. No, he's not in great form right now, but you're right. He's talented enough to turn that corner at any minute. And the game that he has definitely makes sense for this golf course for sure. He's long off the tee and he's got a deft touch around the greens. That's a tremendous combination for this course. And I looked at him too, but I just don't like the way he's been going so far this season. He's had some decent finishes here and there, but not necessarily what we're used to out of them. And hey, that can change at any minute.
Yeah, he hasn't had a top 5 since the Scottish Open last year. So
there you
that's really not what you're looking for. Davis Riley is starting to round into form though. He was he went from 190-1 to 90-1 in 24 hours. So a lot of action.
Yeah, he's been hit pretty hard this week if memory serves me right.
And my last long shot was Grillo. I decided now's the time to take him as a long shot because he's finally starting to play like a normal golfer again after disappearing for a while. Matter of fact, 7 of his last 8 rounds have been between 68 and 72. He had the 85 in round 3 at the Players when he was hanging around in contention and then just blew up with that third round. But that was his only bad round in the last several events. So he is trending, and he
He's
also
won in the state of Texas before as well. He won at Colonial Country Club a few years ago for the Charles Schwab.
there you go, even better. And then here once again are your putting stats for this week, and of course this is for Bermuda, so it's Bermuda grass. And so there's Dietrich, there's McNeely.
Right.
Well, there's your top 2 picks right there.
Well, you're probably going to find your choice of Taylor Pendrith not too far down that list either. He's a very good putter. He's got that combination of the length and the flat stick. Patrick Rogers, you were talking about, you see him there. There's Pendrith, what, 21st, 22nd?
22nd, yeah.
Yep, not too shabby at all.
Minwoo,
And
25th.
Yep. So
okay, there's M 31st. So yeah, not bad. English 34th. But anyway, so this is yeah. I mean, look at Scotty's all the way down here at 39th. So it's not like we need him at first here either.
No,
we don't need any of that kind of headache. But there you go. Anyway, we hope you appreciate what we're doing here. And let us know if you have anything that's on your mind regarding how we put the models together. Like I said, the link in the description for how to join Fantasy National. So check it out. And if you have any suggestions or, again, questions, just let us know. Of course, Brady will answer them, being he's the resident golf expert here on our channel. We'll also have links in the description of how you can hook up with Brady, whether it's through his X account or, of course, each week he puts out his golf.com article on the event this week, the Houston Open, or any event on the PGA Tour. And I'm assuming that's already out for everybody to check out. If you're watching this video, it's out. So
yep.
We'll have a link in
it. It is out there.
Yeah. So the link will be in this in the description area, so you can check that out as well. And then next week, one more event, Texas, and then it's on to the Masters. So it'll be here before we know it. We'll see how it goes, but I am interested, at least like you said, that even though we've got the 2 hot shots this week, it's nice to know that the week before the Masters, it's not going to be barren with players that would be like in an alternate event on a PGA Tour. So that's good to know.
No, I think next week could even be more entertaining. I mean, like you say, we've got the 2 big guys, Scotty and Rory, this week, and then it drops off a little bit. But next week, I think Morikawa, I want to say it's 15 guys deep at least that are pretty big names.
You think Justin will play?
I think so. Yeah, I looked at a list. I think it was last week. I looked at a list who had committed, and it was Hovland, Thomas, most of the big names that are not here this week, but are going to get in their tune-up. And like we talked about, guys are kind of choosing, okay, how do I want to arrange my schedule heading into the first major of the season? And some have chose to play here, and some have chosen to play next week.
And I think, and we'll talk about it, of course, with JT and Morikawa, especially if they play next week. The bottom line with those two is they're getting close, but they're not closing, and they need to learn how to close again, especially JT, because it really looked like JT had it all there for him on Sunday.
Good to see Victor Hovland back in the mix.
Yes. The more of these players, I want Morikawa to win. I want JT to win. I'm glad Hovland win. The more these top players win, the more fun it'll be when you watch the majors, that they won't all wilt when Rory or Scotty is on the top of that leaderboard. Good. Yep. We need that competition.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. The next one we need to start showing up and really pressing for victories is Jordan Spieth. We haven't seen his name at the top of the leaderboard in a while.
Absolutely. And of course, 2 weeks, we'll also be able to see all the LIV players. So looking forward to that. Don't forget, Brady handicaps the LIV as well. So if you have any questions for Brady on the LIV tour, do they play this week?
They play next week. Actually, I hit the winner last year. They play at Doral. You remember Doral used to be home to the PGA Tour for an event, the Blue Monster, of course, and everything. They play that course, and that's their pre-Masters tune-up. Okay, so while the PGA Tour will be at the Valero Texas Open, the LIV circuit will be at Doral. And last year, I correctly landed on Dean Burmester. So I might be on Dean again. He's really playing well on that circuit right now. He's a big hitter, and it's typically where you find winners at Doral is big hitters. So I could be on the Dean again this week, or next week rather.
So that'll be next week. Thanks for your time as always, Brady, and let's go get a win.
Let's do it.